So I get asked quite a lot what my setup is for doing the live streaming, so my wedding live streaming service that I offer. So I run an ATEM, it's the Mini Extreme ISO that I run, which is here, as you can see. I've fitted that into a little hard case, which looks like so, and I fit a little power socket here, which is great. And then on the side, I've got these SDI outputs and inputs here. So they just basically run off across to a couple of cameras, which I'll talk to you about in a second. So inside of the box is, you've got a little monitor here, which is great, that as you can see I've fitted in there. A little bit of light, just because some churches are quite dark, so it gives me a bit of light. So at the minute, mostly, well, for most weddings, I normally only use 2 cameras. Sometimes I use 3, but generally it's just 2. So I've got HDMI 1 and 2 here going into these SDI to HDMI Blackmagic converters here. Then they obviously, like I said a minute ago, go off to the cameras. So everything I do is hardwired. I've not yet invested in the sort of the wireless system. I will be looking at that in the near future anyway. So inside this box, we've got a little power supply here. This little power supply is basically providing power to the ATEM. Well, that's via this extension lead here actually. So, and this one here is giving power to these HDMI converters here. So I also run power off of here that powers my little Mac Mini, which is great. And it also then connects straight from the ATEM here straight into the Mac Mini as well, so I can get the control software, as you can see here. Cool. With regards to my camera setup, I use 2 Sony A7S3s. It's a little over the top for live streaming, but it's what I use for doing videography as well, so it makes sense to use the same kit. We've got the little power banks here that are just powering these HDMI converters to send that signal back down to the ATEM through the HDMI up to here, and then obviously into the camera. I have 2 cameras, like I said a minute ago. So the camera that sits ideally at the front of the church, pointing towards the bride and groom, that I'm normally put on a 16 to 35. So that's a 16 to 35 GM. That gives me a nice little wide shot, make sure everything's covered. And I normally just set it up to something like f4, f5.6 and fix the focus and just leave it running. So pretty much locked in really. And then on my other camera that I set up towards the back of the church, is where I'm normally positioned, is another A7S3. This one's got a Sigma 2470 on there, which gives me a little bit of room just to sort of pinch in and pinch out. Sometimes I change the lens over to a 135 or something. But there you go, that's there. Again, set up to about f4 and just leave it running really, to be honest with you. Move the camera as needed. There you go. Picture profiles for anyone interested is PP11. Just leave it on the acidy tone. It looks quite nice as it comes straight out of camera, which is good. So what's get fed to the customer is pretty good. So in this little monitor here, I'll take this out, show you this. So there you go, we've got the multi-view here, which is great. And then I can just switch between camera 1 and camera 2. As you see there, that's just in my studio. And if I'm running, I run it all through Zoom most of the time. And you can see there's a Zoom feed and they're just switching from one camera to the other. And that is kind of it for most of the live streaming. I do pull up the media players just to show that the ceremony will start shortly, and when they're signing the register, etc. Some sort of indicators for people watching at home, just to know what's actually going on, because we're not legally allowed to film the signing of the register. So that's what's happening there. What else can I tell you audio-wise? So I'm using, actually, on the camera that's at the front of the church, that's normally pointing towards sort of the bride and groom or something like that, just getting a general sound, just using this Rode mic, and that's just being fed straight through down to the ATEM, and that is coming in on, if I just go over to here, you can see there that signal is coming in on here like so, which is great. And then what else I do is I use the Rode Wireless 2 mics, which are here. So what I do is I have this wired up. One of these will go on the groom, one of these will go on the vicar, That will get sent down to the ATEM wirelessly via here, blah, 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 straight into there. Then I split the channels left and right, and then everybody can hear the two feeds, and I can mix those signals over here. So you see on mic 1 over here, this gets split, and I just mix these levels to kind of make it sound nice and audible on the other end. And that's kind of the setup really. So everything's in sort of one little box, ready just to pack away and set up. It takes me 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops to actually get set up and running. It takes longer to actually lug all the gear in and out and setting up the cameras than it does actually setting up the ATEM and the live streaming sort of modules. So, but there you go. There's what I do roughly, a quick insight, and that's it. One other thing I forgot to mention is that I am also able to provide a live recording of the live stream. And normally the live stream is recorded via Zoom, which is great, and you can get that copy of the live stream. I can export that out for you and send you that. And there's a slight additional charge for that doing on top of the service. But also, if you wanted to have a high quality version of the live stream, where we mix a little bit of the audio and remix the audio signals, and we can sort of play around a little bit at the edit afterwards, I connect up here a Samsung T5 drive, where I basically then just record through to this drive your entire wedding, and then I can edit that afterwards, and like I say, provide you with a higher quality version of the live stream at a later date.